Today I'm going to give you a brief introduction to Spreadsheet from Google Docs. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Chrome, and I'm going to log into Google Docs, going to www.docs.google.com/a/scsbluejays.com .org, sorry, and I'll go ahead and log in. Once I've logged in, I'll click on Create and go to Spreadsheet. Spreadsheet is going to be very similar to Excel, which everyone kind of panics about, but it's really not too bad. It's pretty simple. So each of these boxes, I have columns and rows, and each column and row is named after the letter and the number that it's in. So for example, this would be cell A1, this would be B1, this cell would be B2. Okay, so I'm going to type my information in this cell. In this one, I'm going to be typing foods, and this is going to be the number of people who chose it. And I'm going to pretend that I was doing a survey, and my favorite foods were going to be hot dogs, pizza, chicken nuggets. Okay, so let's pretend that I was surveying my kindergartners to find out what was the most favorite food in the class. And so I'll say that 5 people chose hot dogs, 7 people chose pizza, and 8 of the kids chose chicken nuggets. So by putting in the information, I can easily just set it up to put in information, and I can put just about any information into a spreadsheet. I can change the width of my column by simply putting my mouse right in between the two columns, and you can see that it changes. I can do the same thing to the height of my rows, just clicking and dragging in between, and it can make certain rows wider than others. If I want to snap them back to the smallest size they can be, I double click, or no, it won't let me do that, huh? Let's try that again. I can click it back into the size. If I select more than one column, I should be able to resize all of these at the same time, and you can see all of those columns snap to the same width. So I'll go ahead and bring them back. If I click in this very top one, you see that it selects everything on the entire chart. So if I do that, I can change everything on the chart to the same size, to the same font, to whatever bit of information it is that I need to change it to. Just as I'm working with other stuff, I can have things color in the background. I can make things bold. I can change my font color if I wanted to. So a couple of things that I can change. One of the things that's really great about using Spreadsheet is that if I did have this data and I wanted to create a chart, if I click on Insert Chart, I can see it automatically is ready to kind of start working with some sort of chart with me. The most common charts it'll have here. If I wanted to see what it looked like as a line chart, a bar chart, a column chart, even as a pie chart. So I could go with one of the ones they've already given me, or I can click on charts and I can get a little more, I don't think this will work as a scatter chart, nope. But some of the other different charts that you'll see, and so if yours happens to work with it, then it'll give you that as an option, like some of these charts. An organizational chart wouldn't work with it. But you can kind of see some other options that you have. Then if I click on Customize, I get to kind of work with my chart a little bit. If I wanted to put a title here, let's see, I'll call it, oh, and I need to be careful because it's not typing in the right place. Favorite, yeah, it's doing it again. Favorite foods of pre-KW. I can even decide if I want to have my legend. Right now it defaults to right. I can put it on the top, I can put it on the bottom, inside of it, or I can even decide, you know what, for this chart I don't need one at all. And it's kind of neat, depending on the type of chart you're using, you can add different information to it. So right now looking at my axis, I'm looking at my horizontal axis, which is here, and if I wanted to put types of food, it'll let me change the font color. Maybe I want that to stand out in red, bold. And then if I want, I can go ahead and click to my left vertical, number of students. Again, I can change my font color of that. Maybe put it in bold. And on this one, it only allows me to select one thing. Like whatever I choose, everything becomes that color. I can't get real selective about it. In the circle chart, I know it will allow me to change the color of each pie chart. So let's see, we'll go back to default. And I'll click on insert. It automatically pops it into the page, but as one of my choices, if I want, I can go ahead and move to own sheet, and you'll see that now if I click back on sheet 1, I have my original information, and then if I click on chart 1, I have my chart. And I believe let's see, will it let me? And that was kind of one of the problems we had, is that I think once I get into this point, it does not allow me to add my name into it. So we kind of, for the sake of having the kids do it, we made sure that they put their name, and maybe it was like favorite foods of pre-K. So that way whenever they would update it, their information was there. Trying to think if there was another way that we kind of got around that, but I don't think there was. Another thing they could do is change the name of it, pre-KW Foods. And I believe there's a way that if I was doing that, if I went to File, Print, I could tell it to include the document title on the page, and then when it prints, I can see that it's got my name, that it puts the title of the document. And so since my title has the name in it, then it does that also. But as you can see, it's trying to do just that initial page. So that might need to be played around with. I think we ended up having to save the image, and then when we would click on it, then that's what we were able to print. So yeah, some of them you kind of need to play around with a little bit. So maybe having the name in the title is probably the best way to work around that. But I did want to show you one other little thing. If I was going back to my sheet, I selected my information, I went back to my chart wizard. One of the things that I did like about was the if I did choose the pie chart, I could even kind of do it as a donut if I wanted, give it a little dimensionality, or I could just do a regular one. I'm going to give it some dimensionality. And if I wanted to be very specific about the colors, then you see right now under the slices of hot dogs, let's say I wanted hot dogs to be red, I wanted pizza to be brown, and I wanted chicken nuggets to be a golden color. Then I can kind of do that, and again, from choosing one of my choices above, the legend, I can either choose to the location of it, or I can choose to have it gone. And one of the things that's kind of cool is I can go ahead and choose to have it labeled, and then it's also going to show me the label of each one on the chart also. So it's kind of neat. Some of them have some different little things. So if I wanted to insert, I can go ahead and do that. But one of the things, another way that I had the kids do it was I would just have them print this page. So I would have their initial data, I would have their chart, and then I would just have them type their MLA or whatever they needed to do as their heading for me here. So now when I go to print, I can still include the title if I wanted to, But now when I go to print, I see that I have all that information on here. There's my initial data, there is my chart, and there is my heading. Oh, but that was also one thing we learned real quick. If, like right now, I didn't press the enter key, so it wouldn't have shown that. And this brings me to one more thing. If you have students and you do want them to have the date, and like I was requiring my students to have MLA, this, you can see that because I had the date, it was trying to change it into a traditional date format. So what I need to do is format that cell. So I'll click there, format, and then you see if I go down to number, I'm going to go back to plain text. And what that does is, now notice this time when I type it, it leaves it just as I had it. Plain text doesn't allow Spreadsheet to change things into other sort of numerical formats. Whatever I type is how it's going to stay. So if you're trying to create something and it's trying to stick it into some weird thing, you might need to format that cell, that column, that entire sheet if you want to be just plain text, and then it just uses the data that you've put in. So that's your overview, your intro to Spreadsheet.